listen, the show was based on, it's like Mrs. Kravitz. It's like someone peeking through, do you know Mrs. Kravitz?
Of course, I do.
Someone peeking through the curtains of someone else's house and seeing, because like, aren't you curious? Don't you
That's
see
the best
people
kind of show.
and you're like, I wonder what they're really like behind closed doors. I think the challenging thing today is finding people that are really willing to show their authentic selves and their authentic lives, because reality TV is so huge. And I think that it's hard. Some people want to create characters for themselves or things like that. And that's when it doesn't work, because you've got to be authentic.
So Heather Dubrow is on the podcast, and I fell in love with her when I did your podcast.
It was mutual. We had a mutual in love BFF.
We did.
Moment.
We did. And now, because of that experience, you're now on this podcast. So thank you for being on.
You think it's because we're like East Coast Jews?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think there's like an automatic feeling of automatic connection because of that Jewish thing, the East Coast thing. The vibe is very similar.
Did we talk about where we went to camp? Did we play that game?
We did not. Where'd you go to camp?
I went to Bucks Rock and Trails End.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, no. Well, I'm a Canadian Jew, but that's still it's still like not a West Coast California Jew. And there is a big difference between the East Coast Jews and the West Coast Jews.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of people moved here.
Totally, but when the ones who grew up on the East Coast are very different than the
Yes.
ones who grew up on the West. And I told you that funny thing about that friend that went to college with you.
Wait, which friend?
Mindy Mead.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if that's the same Mindy. It must be.
I'm sure it must be the same one.
It's very strange. I have to tell you, like years ago when I used to do scripted television, and if anyone watches Real Housewives, and you've seen how they've shit all over my career for the last season.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah. Being on scripted TV, it was a long time ago, so granted, there wasn't social media or anything like that, but people treated you very differently than,
The reality TV.
Yeah, it was like, I like your show, I like your character, but when you're on reality TV, they know you. So they know your children, they know your home, they know where you had dinner last week. It's odd, it's different.
Well, okay, fine. I want to talk about that because I'm fascinated by what happens like behind the scenes. Because yes, when you see a show, I mean, that is you and that's who you are. But like how much of it is edited to a character and how much is it really you being you?
All right, that's a good question. So in general, we have 3 crews and our cast is, I think, smaller than a lot of the other casts.
Okay.
And not every franchise has 3 camera crews, which I didn't know either.
Oh.
Some just have 2. So we film a lot. So I was told once that the algorithm for our show is that every 30 hours of film that's shot, 20 minutes makes it to the air.
What?
Yeah. So if you think about it, I would never cry editing. What I would say is, when you're putting a show together, you tell a story, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's scripted, unscripted, whatever it is, you don't put in every scene. But something that might be important to you and how you feel and may have influenced how you behaved, if it's not there, that affects you. So let's say you have dinner with your family, right?
Yeah.
And your husband says something that's irritating. But it's irritating to you, but it wouldn't be irritating to anyone else, but it's irritating.
Yes, happens more often than not,
right?
Unfortunately.
And so they don't show that because it's not significant to this dinner.
Yeah.
But you look pissed the entire night and it's like, oh, Jennifer's such a bitch. She's always in a bad mood. And you're like, well, you didn't show that he just said this, but they're not doing that on purpose. It just wasn't sort of necessary for the story.
But it's true also with life, right? Because people see snippets of who you are in that finite period. If you were to go to dinner, like if I were to go to dinner and my husband would do something that would annoy me, those people I would be with would see that.
Right.
But they wouldn't see what happened before dinner in the car.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's basically a microcosm in a way of
100%.
life.
But the difference is you don't have millions of people judging your
right.
microcosm.
Exactly.
It's a very judgy microcosm.
Well, it's a very, especially, well, and so do you know when are you so used to the cameras being on that or at the beginning, let's say, were you changing or kind of even subconsciously changing your personality because you knew you were being watched by cameras and people around you?
I don't think I changed my personality, but I think I was very disturbed about going on the show in the first place because I really wanted to act again someday.
Yeah, so talk about that. Like, and we'll get into that.
Because when I was an actress, when reality TV started becoming a thing, it was very much looked down upon.
Yeah.
So first, remember, game shows became really big. That took away time slots from
Well, how many
scripted
years ago
shows.
are we talking? Like,
I mean, I did a lot of stuff in the 90s and the early 2000s, and I had my twins in 2003.
Okay.
So I had 4 kids in 7 years. So I had a good 10, 15 years of being in the business and whatnot, and working as an actress and a singer and all that kind of thing before I had my kids. And then I had 4 kids in 7 years, obviously took a little bit of a break. I was a stay-at-home mom. I think of my life sort of in decades.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Give us chronological for people
Yeah.
who don't they know you're a housewife,
Right?
But talk about the whole how the evolution. So you became a housewife in what year?
So let me see. Ace was born in 2010, so it was 2011.
Okay, so 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
So, and you were an actress before,
So it basically worked like this. I'm from the East Coast. I went to Syracuse. I was a musical theater major. I did a few episodes of Divorce Court in Florida. It was my first big thing, and I had tape, fancy.
Oh my God,
And
so
so
fancy.
the producers flew me out to LA to work on this other show that didn't go. But I thought, let me just try it. I can always go back to New York. So I stayed out here. I got a job at Disneyland. I sang at Disneyland. I had a 14-piece big band that I toured with for 4 years that we opened up for some cool groups, like Mel Torme, Manhattan Transfer. And we did corporate gigs, opened for comedians and whatnot.
so you're a singer.
Yeah. So I haven't really sung in a while, but I was a singer. And so that's what I did instead of waiting tables. I mean,
Right.
I had odd jobs here and there, but once I got with the band, that's what I did. And we ended up being the house band for The Nanny. Instead of having a warm-up comedian, they had us. And while
You worked for Fran Drescher, you worked for that show?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so funny. Okay.
I know, it's funny. Everyone in the audience, in the studio audience, always thought I was related to
Yeah,
her,
you
which
could.
is funny.
Back then, you guys probably looked a lot alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was great, really
Yeah.
terrific to us. So anyway, so while I was with the band, I was, getting better jobs, a little guest spot here, a little couple lines there, a better thing, TV, movie, whatever. And then when I left the band, I was doing a musical at the Kennedy Center in DC that I had got cast on, and I decided it was time to leave the band. So I left the band. I was working also as a stand-up comic because the musical that I was doing was about stand-up comedians. I wasn't good. I mean, don't get me wrong. That is a skill set that is of its own ilk. But because I was playing a girl who wanted to be a stand-up, I thought it would be a good experience. So I put together a little act and did some stand-up, and it was terrifying, and I'm so glad I got to do it. And then, I just started getting better jobs. And
Did you dance too?
I mean, a little, but not a dancer.
Okay.
For sure.
So
Enough
mostly
for musical
singing, yeah.
theater, but yeah, no, not a dancer. And then I ended up getting cast on this show called Life with Roger that I was a recurring character on. And then, I did a bunch of shows. I had a show with Jenny McCarthy on NBC. And I did a show called Stark Gravy Mad, and I had a show about a big Italian family called That's Life with a bunch of really fabulous.
But you were a working actress.
I was a working actress.
You were making a living doing
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you stop. You have your kids.
Yes.
Okay, and then how did the whole housewife thing come to be?
Well, when I had the kids, so when the twins, who were my first kids, when they were, I don't know, 2, we had to pull the trigger on something and decide where we're going to live, and so we moved down to Orange County, and I was still keeping the dream alive, I mean, this was before you could create your own content.
Yeah.
There was no streaming, there was no YouTube, there was none of that stuff.
No social media.
No, so you felt very out of touch. And being a new mom is so isolating to begin with.
Totally,
And then
yeah.
taking someone who was used to being on a set for 15 hours a day to, being at Gymboree and doing all the
Gymboree.
things. I mean, right? Jimbo. And so
I hated Gymboree.
I know. I did all the things. I was like, but keeping the dream alive, I would do a pilot or 2
Yeah.
every pilot season, and it wouldn't get picked up, and I would sort of be sad and relieved at the same time because I love my kids and I wanted to raise them and be with them, but it was just a very hard It was a hard period of time. And I remember Terry saying to me, if I had a crystal ball and I could show you that like everything was going to work out in the end, wouldn't you be able to relax? I'm like, but you can't, And so then,
especially with your personality, like I can't see you just being a stay-at-home mom without having other extracurricular.
I made parties. I was room mom. I was at the park. I just did it all lots of moms do this.
Yeah.
But, I am honest enough to say I enjoy working.
Yeah.
And so the hard balance for me was I didn't want to leave them, but I also wanted to work. So I think sort of life gave me, in a good way, what I needed at that time, which was to be able to be home with them. So even though it was like personally kind of upsetting sometimes, I wouldn't trade that time.
Right.
And then what happened was when my youngest I started Housewives when my youngest was 9 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Oh,
and I didn't want to do the show.
I didn't realize
Terry
that.
signed the contract for it because
Well, how did it come to be? I need to know.
So, so originally, it's a longer story, but what happened was...
We want to know.
Okay, a couple of years before I actually got on the show, the year that they hired Alexis Bellino, they had contacted me because the way they find people for the show is through plastic surgeons' office. They call maitre d's at restaurants. They call hotels and ask about clientele, that kind of thing. So they had called...
Is that how they do it?
Partially.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how they canvas.
Okay.
It's like their version of headhunting.
And this time, Terry was a plastic surgeon in Orange County.
And we were building a house.
Yeah.
And it was like in the middle of construction. We were doing this ground up crazy house. And not the one we just sold, but like another one. And so we were building this house, and Terry says to me, he's like, hey, there's this show, Real Housewives of Orange County, and it's like, a fun show with women and whatever, da-da-da. Are you interested? And of course I'm like, this is before I had my fourth kid. I had 3 kids. And I was like, back on television? Of course, yes. So I interviewed with them. I had no idea what the show was. And I interviewed with them and did the whole thing. And at the end of the day, they thought I was too New York to be on
Orange County. Funny you say that. I thought the same thing. I actually thought you were New Jersey or New York, like when I first saw you, because you're like the antithesis of what I would expect in Orange County.
But I think that's what made it fun, was the dichotomy
Totally.
of that. So anyway, they said I was too New York, and I was like, okay, whatever. And Terry goes, oh, thank God. And I'm like, why? He goes, oh, they fight. I go, how would you ever put me on a show like that? That's terrible. So then they kept calling, and I said no. They called once or twice. I can't remember how many years in between this was. But then we were pitching a show. Me and some girlfriends were pitching a show about opening a restaurant. And throughout our travels, we met with Evolution, who produces Orange County. And that show didn't end up going, but they said, we like you, we like your friends. What do you think about coming on Real Housewives of Orange County? And we'll put all your friends on it, and if it works, we can spin it off. And I asked all them, and they're like, yeah, I would do that. I go, yeah, but I don't see myself doing this. I don't think I'm like, I have the right makeup for this and whatever. And Terry was so mad because now, a few years later, reality TV was reality TV. And obviously the landscape of television had changed. And this platform is enormous. So you can imagine what it would do for a plastic surgeon's practice.
100%. Oh, that's probably the best. That's the mecca right there.
Yes.
Yes.
And he had done bridalplasty, other, plastic surgery TV shows. And they're always like so good for your business. So he ended up signing the contract.
So he was the one who wanted to do it more than you.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow. So this was now, okay, so were you in the first, were you like in the second or first iteration? Were you one of the originals on the show? Like pretend I'm a moron because I don't really watch the show.
So Orange County is the first Housewife franchise.
Yeah, that I know.
That's the original. I joined in season 7.
So season 7, you must have known about the show. I've seen it somewhere.
Well, when I had tried out that first time,
season 5 or whatever it was?
4.
Okay.
3, 4. It must have been 4.
Maybe 4.
I don't even remember. But no. But then I knew about when Beverly Hills started because we were friends with Paul Nassif and Adrienne Maloof. So then I had watched it. So then I understood what
the show is
about. Anyway, so he signs the contract, and I was so angry. And then finally I go, fine, if you need me to do this so badly, fine, I'll do it. And then he got nervous. So he showed me a scene of Tamara throwing wine on this other girl, Gina, and this whole thing. And I was laughing. And he was like, why are you laughing? I thought you'd like run from the room horrified. And I said, no, it's like a satire. It's like a Christopher Guest movie. I can do that. That's fine.
Are you serious?
Yes.
So then, like, were you like, what was the time commitment? Like, what was the contract time commitment at the beginning? Was it like, well, take 2 days a week, 5 hours a day?
I don't remember it really working like that. I think it was more like it's this many weeks of principal photography, and then there could be pickups, and then.
And do they follow you around, or do you have to plan things? Like, give us the scoop.
It's not like the Real World. Remember when the Real World
Yes.
first came on and it was crazy and it was like, or Big Brother?
100%.
It's not that.
It's not like that.
No, it's not like that. No one's like surprising you from a bush. There's no hidden camera in your toilet. Like, it's not like that.
It's not like that.
No, because this is, listen, the show was based on, it's like Mrs. Kravitz. It's like someone peeking through, do you know Mrs. Kravitz?
Of course, I do.
Someone peeking through the curtains of someone else's house and seeing, because like, aren't you curious? Don't you
That's
see
the best
people
kind of shows.
and you're like, I wonder what they're really like behind closed doors. I think the challenging thing today is finding people that are really willing to show their authentic selves and their authentic lives, because reality TV is so huge. And I think that it's hard. Some people want to create characters for themselves or things like that. And that's when it doesn't work, because you've got to be authentic. And the bad part or the good part about me is that I'm sometimes too sensitive. And I don't think, I'm not devious, and I'm not calculating like, oh, if I say this, and that, like, I'm just not. And if you say something to me, I'm going to react the way I'm going to react. And sometimes it's maybe not the best way.
Or is it the best? Because
Well, it's probably the best for television.
It's the best for television.
Because it's real.
It feels real. It's funny because I feel like the most likable characters are the ones who are, again, like the Bethany Frankel, the ones who have like a bite to them that is more authentic. It feels more authentic. You feel that way.
See, thank you. I don't like mean fighting.
No, I agree with that.
Which is my only big problem with the show, is that I like the petty fights. You know, in my first season, someone broke the bow off the cake of the party I was having, and it became like a ridiculously large fight. Hilarious.
What do you mean? Like
I had a bow on top of the cake, like a fondant bow, and one of the girls broke it off and ate it, like in the middle of the party.
And so did you go up to her and say...
Someone told me.
And so you caused a whole kerfuffle?
Well, I didn't. My friend Dina, who I love very much, we've been friends for a very long time, she goes, you see that girl in the red dress? She just broke the bow off your cake. And I'm like, stop it. She did not. Who does that? That's like, kids know not to do that. You don't touch the cake.
I see. So, but was that something that was like no producer said, "Hey, go tell Heather that"?
No, she's not even on the show. She's my friend Dina.
Like some random friend of yours.
Yes.
We're getting too ahead of ourselves. Hold on. So then now you sign this contract. They don't say to you, okay, so we're going to follow you for Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, what did they say?
I don't remember it being like that, to be honest with you. It was like 12 or 13 years ago. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Even now, how is it? Like, do they say to you?
No, it's like you have, principal photography is starting on this day and it's running till about this day. Sometimes it changes a little bit depending on our trips, or, if a venue for like a final party, that kind of thing. But pretty much, that, we work 5 days a week.
You do 5. So, and like you have a crew, but do they need to have things to actually, so my fear would be like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything interesting. So people don't want to see that,
Everyone feels that way. But what is interesting is the most mundane of things.
Minutia, yeah.
Becomes so interesting. I mean, one scene last season on the show, so my daughter Kat and I were gardening. Because I had these planters on the side. I stupidly, when I built this house, I thought a gardening area would be good. Didn't think to, ask someone who actually knows about gardening and sunlight and soil conditions, what would grow there. It was a little bit of a fail. So what I was growing didn't work in this planter, and Katerina was like, let's plant flowers. And I was like, great. So my friends own this really beautiful nursery near us called Rogers Gardens. So they came over and have you been to Rogers Gardens?
Yeah, it's very nice.
So pretty.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they were helping us dig the things, and so Kat and I are just talking, we're digging, and out of nowhere she goes, I think I'm going to take my lesbian flag down. And I said, why? And she goes, you know, I made a TikTok and it was in the background and I got these comments or whatever. And it launched into the most beautiful, most normal mother-daughter conversation. But it was a normal conversation. And what I loved about it is one of the reasons that, I know we're getting ahead, but one of the reasons, because I did 5 seasons and I left. And I came back last season. I took 4 seasons off, which equated to 5 years with the pandemic. So I started again 10 years after the first time I was on the show.
Oh, wow.
So I started, and it was like, why go back? And my feeling was, I have this huge platform. We've done, you know, I'm very grateful. We've done very well. We've got books, we've got, you know, supplements, skincare, you know, lots of wonderful, lucrative businesses. My desire to go back was to use the platform to try to start conversations in other people's families and show them what our normal family looks like, with kids of different genders and different sexualities and all of that. So what I loved about this conversation, because we knew we were going to talk about Max, because Max is, she's bisexual. She had come out. I don't tell my kids stories for them. They do that. But she had come out on her social media and whatnot. And there had been all these amazing supportive messages and also, you know, sad messages from parents that are estranged from their kids and vice versa. And, you know, parents messaging me that their kids took their lives because they didn't have a safe space. It was heartbreaking. So I thought, maybe we can come back and maybe we can help some people. And when Kat and I had that conversation, it was so normal. But afterwards, I said to her, I'm like, are you cool with this? I'm like, you know, because if you're not, I can talk to the producers, because she's a kid.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, do you think we'll help people? And I said, yeah, I really do. And she goes, no, leave it in. This is who I am. This is our life, you know.
So that's really nice. So there are moments and times where it can actually, it brings out opportunities to have real moments, and that can actually that can resonate with people and help people. And I think it's interesting because when you think of the Real Housewives or any reality TV, you have there's a lot of misconceptions maybe about it. And when I even watch things, I cringe because it feels so artificial and phony sometimes.
Well, if something feels artificial and phony to you, it probably is. And that's why when shows, if you're watching our show this season, it really feels like when I was first on the show. I didn't watch when I took a hiatus.
Yeah, why did you take a hiatus anyway?
It was time. It was
enough already.
The culture of the show had just changed, and it was time to step away. But
and how long did you step away for?
4 seasons.
So literally 4. So that's like 4.
But it was 5 years
because because of the pandemic. Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I'm sweating. Like
I told you.
No, if I get up and it looks like I peed on your chair, I'm
so sorry.
It's like, because I'm sweating.
No, it's like a sauna in here.
No, it's okay. I'm losing weight.
I know, exactly.
Reunion prep.
Exactly, I was going to say.
But I honestly, I feel like those moments are so important. And, you know, I think some people watch the show because it makes them feel better about their lives, because some people sometimes are a shit show. And some people like to watch it because they want to aspire to something, the house or the car or the trip or the clothes or the parties, and it's an escapism.
It's aspirational.
Yeah.
It could be escapism. It could be depending on who it is. Like,
yeah.
But I will say, it's so funny, Heather. Like, even the guy who was here before, like, he's the most serious dude in the world. And I was like, oh yeah, blah, 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 you're coming on. He's like, oh yeah, my wife loves that show. She loves that. I'm like, it's funny how like everybody, like it's such a popular phenomenon.
Yes.
Like it's beyond, like there's
crazy.
It's crazy. Like I can't believe how popular, like I don't think there has been a reality show, except of course The Biggest Loser in the fitness space. Okay. Amazing Race was good. In this world of reality that you're in, what has been bigger than the Housewives? Nothing.
I mean, it's pretty.
It's a culture.
It's pretty up there. And what's so crazy is like these huge A-list celebrities that are obsessed.
Everybody seems to be obsessed.
Obsessed with it.
Like who? Name the biggest celebrity.
Like Nicki Minaj, Chrissy Teigen, Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, there's so many people.
And they're like, oh my God, I love you. Or what? Do they come up to you?
I haven't met J-Law, but I'm a fan.
Is that what happens? Or do people like major celebrities come up to you and be like, oh my God, I love you. I love your show. Or what did they say?
Not with me, but I've seen it happen with other people. And I guess I've been messaged, and Rihanna said something really great about me. last year, 2 years ago.
That's a good one.
She talked about me as a mom, how she really likes me as a mom. And she said I'm really chic. I mean, she said some nice things. And what was so funny was, so I have to pull it
chic.
up, but it was like, Heather's really chic as a mom, and I love how she lets her kids be who they are, something like that. So I put it, my kids and Terry and I, we have a group chat, a text, and I put it on there that she said that, and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then I posted it, and they're like, you are such a loser. It's so funny how you could go from being so cool to such a loser. So quickly.
That is, listen, that's postable, right? Because of all the people, that's a cool one to have. Like Rihanna is Rihanna.
Rihanna is a rock star.
Yeah, like legitimately a rock star, you know?
Literally
a rock star. So wait, so then let me just get back to so the phenomenon is so, like, are you stopped all the time, like in life, like just walking around?
Well, yeah, it's sometimes it's like it's not consistent.
Okay.
Like we can be places when Terry and I are together, we're more recognizable.
Right.
Because, you know, obviously he's on the show Botched,
Right.
I'm on Housewives, we have
A couple.
We have a brand as a couple, so that happens. But there are some times where, you know, it's like you're Madonna. Like, it's crazy. And there's other times no one could give a shit who you are, where you come from. You know, no one cares.
They don't like, so in LA, do people give a shit? Or they don't give a shit because it's
they
LA?
do. No, people, I have to say, like, people are very nice to us. I've never had someone come up and say like anything unkind. And especially, I would say in the last few years.
Yeah.
Really like kind, you know, thanks for, you know, this helped me, this helped my child. I rebranded my podcast this past year also, and I kind of like did an internal rebrand. Not that I wanted to change my brand, because that sounds weird. I didn't want to be a different person, but I wanted to be more specific. Like when I started my podcast, like I think it was 8 years ago, it was called Heather Dubrow's World, and it was like almost funny. It was, you know, my agent said, you know, you should do a podcast. I'm like, great plan. What's a podcast? Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know. And so I started it, and it was supposed to be, because I was on this reality show, giving the audience a different view of me, maybe something a little more raw, and fill in the blanks a little bit.
Fill in the blanks, exactly.
So that's how I started it, and it was fun, and I had lots of guests on, and sometimes I would have even like actors on and personalities, whatever. And what I've realized in the last couple of years, even before the pandemic, and maybe it was turning 50, is that I'm very interested in learning constantly, which I always was, but even more so, how to be a better parent, a better friend, a better partner, better daughter,
better everything.
Better everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for perfection, but I'm just looking to do better. And so anything that I can do, like I want to start conversations that is going to help someone. Because if I help one person, I mean, after I was telling you before we started about Terry's TIA and all that stuff.
Which is unbelievable.
It was so crazy. But so Terry and I kind of went on a stroke tour, a TIA tour for a couple of days. But, you know, people wanted to interview us, and we did them all because his hole in the heart was fixed. He was good. And we wanted to spread awareness. And you cannot believe the messages I got, but one in particular, and I posted it, it was just chilling. And it was about her husband. This woman wrote to me about her husband, and he was having these odd symptoms, and she had just heard me talking about the signs and symptoms. She was like, he didn't want to go to the hospital, like very similar.
Very similar, yeah.
And she made him go, and he had an actual stroke, and he needed the clot busting medicines and the whole thing. She saved his life, and they said to her, she wrote this in this thing, she said, all the doctors and everyone said, he's going to make a full recovery because of how fast you acted. They said, you saved his life. And she said, no, Heather Dubrow saved his life. And she saved his life. But I mean, the fact that
I understand. Like,
but the fact that I could affect one person's life by just telling our story and putting things out there, that's what I want to do. So that's why I rebranded myself internally to be on a more north compass for, you know, how I want to live my life, how I hope my kids live their lives, and friends. And do you notice how you get older, your friend group gets smaller?
100%.
That's all part of that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I used to worry oh, they're going to think I'm a bitch because I'm not friends with them anymore. And I really try to elegantly extract myself. It doesn't matter. If you're not friends with someone anymore, they need a reason and they won't like you. I'm over caring about that because I know that that person wasn't good for me, or I found out like you find out who your friends are,
100%. Are you friends with the people on the show with you?
I mean, of course, like you develop relationships. I mean, you of course have different relationships with
Right.
each of them. But these relationships are very complicated. You're friends and you become family and you're like sisters and you're coworkers. And that's a lot of layers.
And you're women, and it has to be competitive.
Okay,
it has
so
to be.
funny that you mentioned that because I am not a competitive person. And if you know me, you know that to be true. If
I know that you're actually, you don't seem that, I mean, I know you a little bit and I don't get that from you.
You know why? Because after you did my show, we started talking about how we were helping each other.
Yeah,
Next.
exactly.
How can I help you? What can we do for each other next? And we like just loved each other. But that's how I like to show up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has that energy and is right for me and vice versa, like, isn't that
Yeah, it's naturally,
cool.
that's what comes out naturally.
Yeah, but there are people that are very competitive, and I don't understand it because these are very these are trite, but like there's room for everyone, and putting out someone's candle doesn't make yours burn
Right.
brighter.
It's like not a zero-sum game, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I don't understand when women don't get that.
Well, it happens, but it happens more often than not.
Yes.
Because I think we're it comes out, we're very catty. And I think when people say, oh, no, we're not, women empowerment, all this like women empowerment talk, a lot of it is hashtag worthy and very much in the zeitgeist, but people don't.
Is it true?
But it's not true.
Okay, so when I was growing up, my mom, she's still alive, but my mom was a great mom. She did everything she could to the best of her abilities, but she was very like 1950s and like don't tell anyone anything and sweep things under the rug, and she was jealous.
Your mom was of you or of other women?
Of everyone else.
Yeah.
And it would come subtly, but I didn't realize how much it affected me as a person. But it would be like if I didn't get the starring role, it was like, oh, why did she get the starring role? Who's her mother? Is she on the PTA? Or like, why'd they get that job? Who's her dad? Who did they know? Who wrote them a recommendation? Like everything was very jealous. And it took me, when I realized I was that way, it took me a couple of years to really reprogram myself because that's not who I am inherently. But
so
I was
interesting.
so affected. How can you not? Because we're all a product of our environment.
Totally.
But to me, it's how you break the cycle. So what I find strange is once you start getting a modicum of success, I don't understand why that doesn't immediately. I understand struggling, how it might be very difficult because I've been there too, to root someone else on that's really doing well. I hope that's not the case for people, but I could get it. But once you yourself have a modicum of success, how could you ever like not want everyone to be successful?
Yeah. I know what you're saying because that's how you've retrained your brain to be that way.
Yeah, and someone once said to me like, oh, are all your friends like pretty and successful and something? And I was like, do you go out of your way to hang out with like unsuccessful people,
right,
or unattractive? Like I feel like everyone's pretty when they're successful and happy.
I also think I prefer to be around people who I admire and respect based on what they've done and who they are, and but there's a whole other like psychology about people not want. It's like the Schadenfreude thing. I think I told. Remember that you like people like to be around people, or like misery enjoys company.
I know. I said Schadenfreude on the show this
Oh, you
this
did?
week. I called them Schadenfreude bitches.
Oh,
yes.
you did?
Yes.
Because people get pleasure out of. That's what it means. People getting pleasure out of other people's misery or unhappiness, because it makes them feel better about themselves.
But that sucks. It's like very easy to be a friend to someone when the chips are on. Oh, poor you, poor this, poor that. But the hardest thing, the medal of a friend, is to be friends in success. That's the whole thing.
But that is not the norm, unfortunately.
But that's why you have to be friends with successful people, because I believe successful people want to be around successful people
and
because
it elevates you 100%.
Like
It's a mindset, though.
One of the girls said about me on the show something like, "Oh, she needs to be the." People have been asking me if I'm going to be moving to Beverly Hills Housewives.
I think I asked you that too.
Because we bought like so much real estate, whatever. But so they were giving it. Someone on my show was giving an interview. I can't remember who it was, but they said, how would she be on that show? And she said, "Oh, I think she'd have." Oh, maybe it was Emily. She said, "I think she'd have a problem not being the top dog." And it made me laugh because, first of all, I thought to myself, I ain't the top dog on this show, so I don't know where that's coming from.
Who is the top dog? I don't know.
I don't know, but I think she was talking. I think what she meant, and other people have said this about me on my cast, like that they feel like I need to like have the biggest house or have the most money or be the like. I don't feel that way. By the way, you throw the party and invite me. You get the I'm. Can't everyone have a big house? Can't everyone be successful? Can't everyone?
They can. But again, people want to sometimes, like, people like to be around people who they feel they're superior to and make them feel better. But that's the psychology. That's how
they talk about me, but it's not true.
So, I mean, how do you reconcile that? Like, these are not friends, though. Like, that to me, like, it's fair. That to me is not a friend. They could be coworkers or whoever, but it's not. It's like a very competitive. Like, you get more. Let's say, for example, you're getting more press than this person. I mean, it does become like a psychological like mind fuck a little bit, right?
Yeah, Yes, and the things that I get upset about the show aren't that, because I honestly, I don't.
Doesn't bother you.
That doesn't
Good.
bother me in those terms, because I truly believe that everyone's got their own path and everyone's doing their own thing and everyone's very different, right?
Yeah.
So we're not all going to be doing the same thing. I mean, would it be weird? No, I mean, look, I've had a skincare and supplement line for many years.
How many years have you had it for?
Well, I mean, Terry and I have done skincare in some form or another for the last 20, but this one I think is the last 10 years. And
what's it called, by the way?
Consult Beauty and Consult Health.
Okay.
And, I don't talk about it that much. They do well. They're great. It's
I know
great.
you haven't mentioned it at all.
I know. Because I don't know why I should. Consult Beauty, Consult Health. You can go to heatherdubrow.com. You can see it all, buy it all. It's great. It's all I've used for 10 years. Anyway, Gina, who's on my show, came out with a skincare line last year. I am thrilled for her. I asked her if she wanted any help, if she needed to know anything. Like, if I could help her at all, I am happy to. That's what you do with each other. There's not just one skincare line in the whole world. There's many. And guess what? There's many that are very, very successful.
That's
it's not just one. There's room for everyone.
There is room for everyone. So does that mean, Gina, how is hers doing? Just now I'm curious.
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I haven't asked her,
Do they have husbands? This is how much I don't know, but do they have husbands who are also successful? Like, have they made businesses out of the business
out
of
of the
TV?
platform?
Yeah, out of the platform.
Some do.
Because your husband seems to like knock it out, like between your show, the bot show.
Yeah, he was a very successful plastic surgeon. When I met him.
Oh yeah, okay, right.
Because I met him when I think we're like 10 and a half years apart. So I think I was 26 and he was 38 when we met. And so he was
already doing well.
He was like a fully formed, human with a big practice and the whole thing. And then, he did a TV show here, did a TV show there, whatever. But truly, I mean, Botched is basically a spin-off of Housewives.
Right. Oh, right. So whatever happened to the spin-off of you and your friends doing the restaurant?
So we filmed on the show a few times, but I have to say, like, my friends, they're so sweet and I love them so much. They didn't want to be on a TV show. You know, it was fun taking the meetings, because we'd go to LA and we would go to take the meeting, we'd get dressed up, and then we'd have lunch and champagne.
Right.
And
so
then
the
we'd go home.
experience
it was
of it.
so fun. We had the best time, and they were all so kind about it, because honestly, when Orange County thing came around, I called each one of them individually. I'm like, look, they said they'll do this. I can't guarantee that. I'm happy to not do the show and do a show with you guys. Your friendship is more important to me. And they were all like, I'm never doing it anyway. You do. It It was very much like that.
It was.
Yeah.
So then how about the other housewives on like the New York, the Atlanta, I don't know, all the millions of other ones. Do you know all those people too?
I know some of them. Like, I know a bunch of the girls from Beverly Hills, some just from life from years ago,
Yeah.
some because I've met through, like Lisa Rinna and I were in acting class years ago together.
Right. Because she was an
Garcelle-
actress too, yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
Garcelle and I have known each other for a number of years. And yeah, and Bethany I've known for a long time too. I just ran into her in Aspen last year. Our kids played together. It was really cute. And yeah, and like when we go to BravoCon, or, you know, we just did,
BravoCon.
we just did, what's it called? Family Feud with the gals from Atlanta.
That is so fun.
It was so fun. We had the best time. And it was so great seeing all of them, and they're lovely. And even the ones that I don't know, the girls that I didn't know, like we saw each other, and we, even though we don't know each other.
You know
know
other.
each other.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh my God, hi. And it's great. And I really do feel like it's a sorority, you know, it's nice. And once you know, you're only as good as your last episode, your last season, your last whatever, and you kind of forget, you move on, and you run into people that used to be on the show, and you're fine.
It is what it is. It's such a, like, I'm fascinated by just like the whole phenomenon of it all, right? And I think people are too, like you're saying, like filling in the blanks for people who don't necessarily know what they don't know, right? And this is why I love having this conversation with you, because like you're giving me like the skinny on this on the show. By the way, you're so skinny.
Well, this is the trauma.
Is this the trauma?
Well, first,
you were skinny when I met you.
Yeah, no, I tend to run thin.
Yeah, you're pretty skinny.
But I haven't been, so I don't have a trainer right now.
I know. Can you do cardio on your own?
That's
Okay.
why I'm so skinny, because I'm doing cardio and I'm not
doing weights.
yeah, because I gotta keep my heart healthy. So I
Right.
always do my cardio. So I've been going to Orange Theory.
Yes.
Which I really like, but it's not enough
Weights.
It's not enough weights. And so I'm looking for a new trainer,
help
which
you with that.
you and Adam are gonna help me with.
I'm gonna for sure help. First of all, so let me ask, so you're naturally this skinny?
So, I mean, I feel like I've always been thin, but you know, my body changed. It's so weird. Tell me if this happened to you, because you're so fit. So
Thank you, but
I used to be, like, if you Google me, so I had a really fat face. Well, I missed that college and a lot of big.
Really? You had a fat face?
Oh, yeah. Because my body was voluptuous. Like, I had huge natural D breasts, small waist, and I had hips.
Okay, sounds good to me.
I had a voluptuous, cute little figure. And I gained like the freshman 40. That wasn't so good. But so for the first few years of college, not so thin, but like normal thin in high school, and then gained the 40. And then I did pageants for a little while.
I can totally see you doing that.
Because in my day, the only way you could get on TV singing was Star Search or Miss America.
Oh my God, Star Search. Were you on Star Search?
No. I submitted a tape to Star Search, and I didn't get in. And it was funny. I was on a red carpet for something, and Ed McMahon was there, and he hosted Star
course,
Search.
I know.
And so he came up to me with his wife, and he was like, "Oh my!" He was so nice, and he said, "Oh, we love your show." And he was so sweet. This is years ago, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you." I said, "You know, I sent in a tape for Star Search," and he said, "If I told you the number of talented people that I have met that have now gone on to become successful that didn't make it."
Really?
On the Star, yeah, he was so nice. Anyway, so Star Search or Miss America.
Yeah.
And Vanessa Williams went
my
to
God,
Syracuse, but also she and her brother and I grew up together since we
Oh.
went to school together. He's a grade above me, but we went to school together since like nursery school. So,
Oh, wow.
So I knew her family, whatever. And so if you were a musical theater major at Syracuse and you were a singer, you did the Miss America, you did the Miss Syracuse pageant.
Did you do the Miss Syracuse?
So I won that, and then I went to Miss New York, and I did not win that, but I was Miss Congeniality. So I was the nicest girl in New York for a whole year, just saying.
Are you serious?
But anyway, what was great for me, two things about the Miss America pageant.
Okay.
Miss Syracuse pageant. I learned how to interview like you cannot believe, because at that time you had to answer a question live on stage. And it wasn't like, what's it mean to be a friend? It was like a question. And so you really had to be up on current events and be able to answer a question live on stage, which is, you know, a difficult thing to do sometimes. And there was an interview portion where you sat in front of a panel of 5 people that counted for, I mean, it could have been 35% of the score.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you were drilled with questions about, the town, the city, the state, the country, all kinds of things. And so I got mad skills from that, number one. And the other thing it did was I lost the weight from freshman and sophomore year.
Oh, that's good.
Because I had to be in a bathing suit.
You had to be oh my God, right.
So I did that. And then from then on, I was thin. And then I was an actress. And but still, young, big boobs, voluptuous, but thin. But if you look at my face, it's huge.
Yeah.
And so after I had my kids, or during the process of having 3 pregnancies, 4 children, my body completely changed. And I, no more boobs. Although they bounced back a little.
Barely on but
I mean, they're like a solid B+.
But your husband's a plastic surgeon, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Did you get them fixed at least, or anything?
No, they're good.
Good for
they're
you.
Fine. I don't want to do it.
Good for you. Neither did I. But listen, but having that as a perk as a husband, I mean, it can help.
Well, listen,
you.
I like other things, but he only does surgery. He doesn't do injectables or anything.
He doesn't do anything like that.
No.
Okay, so go on. Yeah.
So, wait, what was I saying?
You were saying something about how it helped you with interviews.
Oh, right.
And
so I lost the weight.
You lost the weight.
So after having my kids, my body went for that. So I lost the boobs.
Yeah.
And I did for 5 seconds think about getting my breasts done. And this is why I always tell people, if you want a mommy makeover, you've got to wait a couple of years. Because my breast tissue came back.
It came back.
So I'm like a big B, let's call it. Small C, big B. Small.
I think it looks good to me.
It's all right. It's not bad.
Yeah.
And they look not terrible naked. And so, nipples are still in a good place. And so my body got super straight.
That's what I'm saying. How did that's a different
I don't
body
know.
composition.
My body turned into this leaner, more athletic body. So I have had 2 completely different body types.
What are you doing for
my
it?
waist, instead of going in, just got very straight.
And it's not mad. You're not on Ozempic or anything like that.
What am I trying to get back to my birth weight?
Who knows? You're very skinny though, I gotta say. So what do you do?
I was thinner a few years ago. So when we had our 20-year wedding anniversary, we went on this big trip. And we went to the south of France, I went to Paris, whatever. It was so fun. But I wanted to be bikini ready.
Yeah.
And so...
This 10 years ago, you said?
No, it was...
I think you said you were married 30 years over there. You told me earlier.
Not married 30. We're together 27.
Oh, okay. Almost
that.
30.
No,
okay.
we're going to have our... we're married 24 years. This is 4 years ago.
Wow, okay.
And but the great thing was... So I got super skinny, weight-wise, thinner than I am right now. But I was shredded. I was doing 2-a-days. I was weights. I was so happy. It was the first time in my life that I felt all right, maybe I won't put the sarong on.
Look at you.
I'm going to walk around. I'm going to do my thing. Ever since then, it's gone down a bit. And then I had foot surgery. Oh my God, if you don't have to, don't ever have foot surgery. I had a bunion, I had a thing. And
you're out,
and I'm going through menopause. What a disaster. So I gained 12 pounds during that period of time. This is a couple years ago. And then I was it's not comfortable on me. I don't feel like myself anymore.
Yeah.
So I lost the weight.
So what are your habits? You're doing
I eat lean protein and vegetables is the basic of my diet.
Okay.
I work out. I mean, right now it's a little bit difficult with the kids going back to school and all this, but a minimum of 6 days a week.
A minimum. Okay.
Yes.
So do you sometimes work out every day? Mm-hmm. Okay. And not Orange Theory every day, or every day you're doing Orange Theory?
It depends. No, I mix it up. I like boxing.
So you'll do how much exercise a day? An hour, 30 minutes?
Yeah, I like an hour.
Every day? In the morning? And
I like working out in the morning, and I like cardio fasting, and I'm an intermittent faster. So I will, and I don't drink coffee. So
you don't drink coffee
no.
at all? No caffeine?
I like an espresso martini. I know that's super weird, but I don't drink coffee.
Oh, that's interesting. But
Every once in a while I'll have one, but it's not my thing. So I get up in the morning, just water.
Okay.
And
what time do you wake up?
It depends. Mm-hmm. But with the kids back in school, it's 6:20.
Yeah, okay, me too. Okay, so how old are the kids again? You said they're...
So they're about to turn the next ages, but the twins are going to be, they're sophomores in college now. And Kat she's a junior. She's about to be 17. And Ace is 7th grader, and he'll be 13 in December, and the twins will be 20 in November.
my God, they're old kids already. Wow. I
Isn't that
can't
nice?
believe it.
It's such a good stage.
Yeah, like that.
I
You have
love
a
it.
life, but don't you have like a life again in a lot of ways? That's not.
Yeah, well, this school that they're at, like, she can't drive because the parking. Ugh, I have to drive them again. I thought I was done with them.
Yeah.
But actually, I enjoy being in the car with them because you get like
You
those
get information.
conversations.
Yeah.
So anyway, I basically drop them at school, go to the gym. It's the first thing I do. Unless I have an early morning meeting, I try to schedule everything
Yep, I'm with you, girl.
after because I just want to get it done. And I don't care about being like, I have makeup on right now, but usually I don't. So I get up, I'll work out, I'll take a quick shower and throw my hair up and just put my face cream on and I keep going.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Because I look at your face, you're wearing very little makeup. What do you wear?
I wear, so one of the products that we have is this, it's a tinted moisturizer, but it's got skin ingredients
Yeah.
in. But it honestly didn't sell that well, so we stopped making it. But I think I have like the last 10 bottles. I don't know what I'm going to do when it's done.
'Cause it looks good.
Yeah, I know. It's good stuff.
And that's tinted? Mm-hmm. Okay. And
But I believe in wearing as little
as possible.
as possible. Like getting your skin to the right spot and like, because you don't want to cover your skin.
Right.
You want like something a little, you want your skin to show through.
Yeah. Well, you have good skin though.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to know what you do. I want to know like all
It's
the
just
little
our,
tips and
it's
tricks.
just our,
It's just, and this is by the way not a promo for her stuff. I had no idea. She doesn't even talk about it. This was just me like.
I should talk about it. It's not good.
How are you not ever? Don't you like? Because how do you know? Why don't you talk about it?
I mean, I do. It's just been so long. I feel like I don't know.
It doesn't matter anymore. So
It does. I mean, it does. It does. I should talk.
If you
about
talk, you should.
Yes.
But you don't need to. You have all these other things. So like, okay, I had another question, and then now I'm forgetting what I wanted to ask you about exactly. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Well, what I was going to say is the first thing is, are you shooting now? Like when you start again?
it. No. So this was actually an odd year because we were done shooting in November, early November.
Okay.
And so the show usually would have come out like in January.
Right. Oh yeah. So what's going on?
I have no idea, but the powers that be at the network, they schedule their shows appropriately. And, it's not just about our show. It's about
All the
all
shows.
the shows and the programming and whatnot. So this is when they were doing it. So what happens is now you got to watch the show because now you got to see what everyone was saying about you.
And then what happened? Yeah.
And
tell
then
me
you
that.
film the reunion. So they're just giving us all the final.
Oh,
so
that's why you were saying you're getting reunion ready right
Yes.
now.
So that's why I'm telling you I'm thin. So partially I'm thin, particularly thin right now because the reunion, and also partially because what happened with my husband.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I want to ask you, but I don't want to make you repeat yourself again. Do you want to say it?
well, if you want to hear what happened to my husband, you can just go Google me. But basically, he had stroke-like symptoms at a restaurant, and he had a TIA, which was caused by a hole in his heart. And it was such an ordeal and such a disaster, and to get him to the hospital and the whole thing. And so thankfully, it was a very fixable problem. And he already had the repair like a couple days later.
he's good now.
And he's good now. But the thing is that I don't know if this is I'm just going to speak about women. A lot of us are the glue for our family, right? So we take care of the kids and our spouses and
the household.
and even like the fun calendar, like all the things. And I think after it happened, I went into shock, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've come out of it. And so I think I was joking with you before, but we're shooting the reunion next week. So by the time this airs, it may have already been shot, but we're shooting the reunion. And then I always book a trip for a couple of days away for me and Terry the day after, just to get away, check out, process, whatever. And so I've scheduled my breakdown for that.
I love your breakdown trip.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. That's such a good idea. What I wanted to now I remember what I wanted to ask you was about your acting stuff. Like now that you've done the show, are you wanting to go back to acting? Have you had any opportunities while you've been on the show, or like is there a disconnect? Is it something now like because a lot of actors, like you said, come on the show, but have anyone from the show ever become an actor or done any other things beyond?
Yeah, I think so. I think both of those things are true.
Yeah.
I mean, Nene Leakes, although I think Nene was a performer before she came on the show, but she's been on Broadway. She's done a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A lot of people have done that, and I think it's fantastic.
Do you want to do that?
So since I've been on the show, I've done like a few guest stars here and there, nothing huge. But what's sad to me, especially this season on the show, is they're shit talking my career. So, but they're pulling up my IMDb, talking about my credits, like it's lame, or it's been so many years since I've done anything, or they talk about me as if I walk around talking about myself like I'm Meryl Streep, or it's just very odd. And actually, on the episode that's airing tomorrow night, I just watched it. You know, they say I staged paparazzi photos at Disneyland. It's so stupid. I don't even know how to do that, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway.
Who's they, by the way? Who are these? The girls on the show?
The girls on the show. And so Tamara makes a comment.
This is terrible. This is terrible behavior,
She makes a comment in her confessional. And she says, you're not an A-list actress. You never were. No one would want to take a paparazzi photo of you. And then you go like this. And by the way, that hurts me so much, because to answer the first part of your question, yes, I definitely want to do scripted again someday. I don't know when. And on the show, it seemed the other girls talk about me, or it makes it seem like it's imminently happening. My youngest kid is in 7th grade. I still have a lot to, take care of, drive, and make sure everyone's okay, that I can't be on a set for like those kinds of hours, depending on what it is.
Totally.
So the answer is, I don't know. It depends. But I'm not, it's not at the forefront of my mind at this second. I just bought this house in Beverly Hills. I'm super excited about that. I have to do a massive remodel on. And it's like there's a time issue with it, with things that are going on in the city and whatnot. Anyway, so I have a lot of things going on right now, all fantastic, great things that I'm loving and interested in. But it's like it's what we were talking about before, about people that just want to bring you down and press your buttons. Like, I never said I was an A-list actress, but why do you have to point out that I'm not? And it makes you go, how do I handle it? Do I post all the paparazzi photos that have been taken of me in the last year? Because there's
Probably
number
a lot,
of them.
yeah.
I mean, maybe not as much as Jennifer Lawrence, but
or J-Lo,
who are A-list. I'm clear, but there are some. So clearly, some paparazzi wants to take a photo. And by the way, I don't care if they want to take a picture of me or not. You do. And then these quote staged paparazzi photos, I'll show them to you. So someone wrote an article. There were rumors that Terry was cheating on me. He's not. And by the way, this happened a few years ago also. Why does no one ever think I'm cheating? I am cute.
You're really cute.
Like, come on.
You are.
Anyway.
She's actually really cute in person, guys.
So
I'm sure there are guys after you.
There's really not, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure there is.
So, but anyway, so they were saying like he's cheating. And so Terry and I were at Disneyland, and we were at Disneyland because it was my daughter's Sweet 16, and that's what she wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
And we were also celebrating that no one knew, but we had just sold our house.
Oh, okay.
And so,
Mazel tov.
Thank you. And it was kind of like an epic deal and whatever. So we were at Disneyland, we were drinking, we were laughing, we were hanging out.
Drinking at Disneyland?
Yeah, because at California Adventure, there's bars.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. In Marvel World, you can get this huge pretzel. That's when you cheat. You get this huge pretzel, and they have this like tequila drink. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so we're like drinking and laughing and walking through California Adventure and Disneyland. And I guess someone took photos of us. Mm-hmm. So someone wrote an article with the photos. And they said, amidst cheating rumors, Dubrow's looking happy at Disneyland. Now, if you look at the 5 photos that this person took, 3 of them were like sitting like on a bench where he's looking in the distance, could be mad, me making a bad face like this. Like, you very easily could have plucked one of those photos.
Yeah, of course.
And written, amidst cheating rumors, unhappy at the happiest place on earth, right? But they just want to hate. But then what do? Do I post that? Do I leave it alone? Is there a faction of the audience that's going to think I staged paparazzi? I mean, like, it's just so stupid.
Just leave it alone.
Why would I do that?
Because people want to be famous and people want attention. That's why.
But
We're living in a
am famous. I'm already on a show. And they've said he's been cheating on me for years. What do I care now?
Because people have to maintain their level of importance and level of fame. We're living in a world where social media now, everybody wants 15 minutes of fame. And then to maintain and then keep it going, That's where they go. But to your point with these other women on the show, these are not friends. Like this is what's scary about reality TV, is that you have people like that who are doing the same thing you're doing, who are like, they should technically be compassionate and like be your buds, but it's competitive.
Yeah, but
and they want to destroy you.
Yeah, but think about real life.
But yeah, but they don't have a platform.
One in the group.
There's always one. There's always a rotten apple.
But
there's always a rotten apple.
But that's why it's real life.
It's a microcosm of real life.
Yeah.
It is a microcosm.
And even though it sucks and it's aimed at me, it's like, how do you navigate it? How much can you just let brush off? And how much do you laugh off?
Laugh off. You gotta laugh it off.
Yeah, I mean.
Is there one that's worse than others, or are they all just the same? Like, who's the worst one?
I can't say that.
I mean, can you whisper to my ear?
No.
Tell me offline.
I'll tell you later.
Okay, because I'm curious. Because I don't like. I'm just fascinated.
But that
by
one person might be different for everyone. But I think my biggest problem right now with my show, I don't know if this is the same on other people's shows, but on our show, is that it's a little Trumpian in the fact that, am I going to get a lot of shit for saying that? But it's a little Trumpian in the fact that if you repeat something enough times, it's the truth.
Yeah. By the way, that's with everything in social media or anything in life. Again, it's like a microcosm.
But it didn't used to be that. It used to be the truth was the truth. And if someone was, it reminds me of Hitler. I mean, it's just terrifying.
It's all of it. It's people who have whoever's louder, bigger, who is more alien, more polarizing. Yeah. They get the attention. Yeah. Because it's the dopamine in our brains that we want to have, like our brains waking up to that.
It's terrifying. But I do always feel like this, like at the end of the day, I get to go home. And like, I don't mean like to the house. Like
I know.
I mean, like I get to go home.
To your family.
To my family. And I am so lucky. Like I have the greatest husband. He's awesome. And we have such a nice relationship. Like we really, really, he's my best friend.
Yeah, that's
we have so
nice.
much fun together. And we were just, in the beginning of the summer, we had like a wedding and this, that. We were like together 24/7 for work, whatever it was, like 3 weeks. And he went to work that next day and he was texting me all day. Like, is it weird? I miss it. Like, it's just so sweet.
So you guys are still in love after almost 30 years together.
Yeah, we really are. I swear, I think I love him more now. I think our relationship has evolved into like the coolest, greatest thing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Even with the show, because I think you and I talked about
that was our one bad year.
Yeah.
We were fighting about, it looked like we were fighting about something else, but we were really fighting about being on the show because he thought, I was just talking to one of the other girls on the show about this because it's so weird. Like, he thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
To him, it was funny because he's a doctor. Like, what does he care about being on a show? So he would press my buttons thinking it was funny.
Yeah.
But like, you know how if your husband ever does that to you at a dinner or something, later you're like, don't do that again, but it's on camera.
It's on camera, yeah.
And I would be like infuriated, and that was a bad year.
But even though, like, if that's the worst of it, but I'm saying like people's like, there's very few relationships that make it through reality TV.
Yeah, well we had to have a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
That year I said to him, I go, look, we're fighting, it's not okay, and we have to figure out how to navigate this or I'm getting off the show. Because our marriage and our family is more important than being on a TV show.
But you've navigated it pretty well. Like the things that are kind of like you're talking about, they're like pretty benign in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, like you're vocal about your kids. You're vocal about like, your husband's career is taken off. You have all these other platforms and amazing things happening. You guys are still a unit. Your kids seem to be handling everything well.
Yeah, they're good.
Like it didn't like, how are they at school? Are their friends like, oh my God, your mom or this or?
No, not really. You know what? I think people who know my kids know them.
Yeah.
But I think people would assume certain things about my kids. My kids are really normal.
Yeah.
They're really grounded.
I bet they are. I thought they would be with you actually.
They're just good kids.
Normal good kids.
They're normal good kids. And trust me, they have friends who have parents that are very famous.
I was going to say, like, it's all relative. We're living in LA and all that. But, like, you're out there very vocally with your children talking about all of their, everything about them in terms of their...
That's a tough walk, I have to say, because, my main job is to protect them,
Yeah.
which I need to do, but I do have this platform.
Yeah.
And, we started the show like when my youngest was 9 months old. So like these kids have been known their whole lives.
The whole lot. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how the celebrity being an A-list, B-list, C-list. Your kids are out there more than an A-list kid would be, with like true things that are happening in their day-to-day lives
Right.
and being talked about in like gossip rags, is what I'm saying. It's a
Yeah.
different situation.
Yeah, it's not easy. And so I do the best. I mean, the problem is, we can't move to another
Right,
state and live off the grid. And I mean, these are our jobs.
Exactly.
And so,
But you can, but you don't want to.
but like, I mean, where's he going to be a plastic surgeon? Like, I don't know.
In Kansas?
I guess.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. This is like the Mecca. So
And still there's social media, like, it follows you wherever you go. So here we are. This is what our family is. And, I'm just doing my best to protect them. But I feel like I was given these kids for a reason.
Yeah.
And I want to protect them and take care of them. But I feel like part of my mission in life has become to take care of other people's kids too.
Yeah, which is great. You're using your platform for good. I know we got to wrap because you got to go get your kids, I think. One fact, does your husband still actually practice like surgery?
yeah.
He does surgery like
Yeah, but what's so crazy, we always joke, like he never sees virgin tissue anymore. He only sees like the worst mess ups.
Right, well, because of botched, I guess. Yeah, of course.
He does all the hard revisional surgery, but he loves it. You know what's so great?
Yeah.
Seeing, I remember there was a period of time where he was a little bit disillusioned with plastic surgery because, he started off as a general surgeon.
Yeah.
Because that's
right.
Well, that's the classic way.
That's right.
I mean, there's different ways to become a plastic surgeon, but he was a general surgeon, chief resident general surgery, and then plastic surgery, chief resident plastic surgery. And so, he started with gunshot wounds and all that kind of stuff, and then plastics and doing reconstructive and whatever. And then he was in a practice where, it was like women holding their eye like a millimeter above. I like it here, I'm unhappy here, I'm happy here, I'm not. And he was like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? And then when he started botched, it changed. It changed everything.
Because he was fixing like legit.
Yes.
Things.
He was using his skills for to really help people again. It completely changed him. And he got so reinvigorated. He loves operating. He loves what he does. He's such an incredibly smart, such a talented doctor, and he loves it.
That's amazing.
He's the most enthusiastic guy.
Oh my God, I love that. I need to meet him. Yeah, I got to meet Terry.
We'll go out to dinner.
Okay, we have to. Yeah. All right, I'll let you off there now. Okay, so Heather, you're great. What's your podcast called? Where do people find you if they don't know?
Okay, anything you want to know, you can go to heatherdubrow.com. Everything is there. There's links to everything if you want to buy the Consult Beauty.
Yeah.
This is a Consult Beauty face.
Yes, it is.
And the podcast is called Let's Talk with Heather Dubrow. And sign up for my newsletter. It's free. I give it all away for free.
Perfect.
Not
Why?
a monetizer, apparently.
Apparently.
I don't talk about my products. I don't link it.
At
I
all.
don't get money from the links. I don't know.
Nothing. It's just, that's it. But she makes money off just being Heather. It's like Madonna. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Bye.